another episode of Narrative Podcast. Today I am joined by our lovely usual host, now guest, Tess Manhattan.
Hello, Romy.
So I just wanted to say, first of all, how personally excited I am to be in your role, because I think that the Narrative Podcast, the guests who have come on have spanned, you've really have created a narrative, people from Chris Martin, Josh Smith, Tibby, Sophie, etc. Like these are people that you have categorized under an umbrella, and that scene exists, but it's more or less defined because of you. So with that said, where does your narrative begin?
Wow, what a great intro. I would say my narrative begins growing up in New York City, growing up in Manhattan, being exposed to a lot of art, and just being in the city, being interested in people and stories. I listened to a lot of radio when I was a kid. I'd listen to radio pretty much from the moment I woke up to when I went to sleep. I always loved audiobooks, storytelling. I had these audiobook tapes that I'd listen to on repeat as a kid, like Chronicles of Narnia. I had The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn when I was 8, which is a very weird book for an 8-year-old to have the unabridged audiobook for, but I listened to it 10 times. And I've just always been obsessed, and I was really into Greek mythology. So I feel like a lot of my interest in storytelling came then. And then when YouTube came out, I got really into it and always wanted to be a YouTuber. And now here we are.
Well, before you were a YouTuber, you were, am I correct in saying that you were posting on Instagram before you were posting on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, I would say I was always posting on YouTube. I started posting on YouTube when I was 12, and I was making animations and then I made some food review videos in high school, and in college I had a YouTube persona called Guinea Pig Pop Star where me and my friends were trying to be artist YouTubers. And then my Instagram account that kind of blew up is the Real, which I started in 2020. It kind of took off, and I had been wanting to take off on social media for a while, but I think separating it from my lived experience really helped in developing a character. Or I was anonymous on the Real for a long time, but once I started building my character myself, I kind of created Tess Manhattan, which is me but also not me.
So I guess I didn't know you were making YouTube videos before, which is trippy to know now, because I feel through everything, you are kind of a world builder. You were building a character for yourself, you're building your scene, you're building on your various platforms, you are creating a character for yourself. So how real is the real?
I would say it's 80% real. I would say it is. I would say it's I don't make anything up about my life. I would say it's just it's a highlight reel. It's social media, so I only show the positive moments, or I try to, and I don't show a lot of, I guess, my inner, it's kind of the outside world, but also the aestheticized world that I want to portray. And I've been learning more about what I want to do as Tess Manhattan, the character. And it correlates to my regular life, because obviously I have to go live it every day. But I think Tess Manhattan is more confident than I am. She's more, she's a cheerleader, and I think I can be that. But I think there's also a side of me that's depressed and anxious, and that doesn't go online as much.
Valid. I think ideally, you want to show the best parts of yourself to the world. Where do you source, or I guess you're still kind of doing that. Where do you source images from for the real?
So I started off the Real as really an archive account for images I saw on online shopping sites like eBay, AliExpress, Poshmark. And so that's where at Craigslist, I was sourcing a lot of early images from Craigslist, really places on the internet where there's time-sensitive posts that the images will disappear. So it's really, the page is kind of like a memorial to the internet and kind of like a chapel or like a graveyard or something of images. But other images come from like Getty Images, Google searches, Facebook, Flickr, really anywhere you can find images. I've been using a lot of Chinese social media apps recently, like Little Red Book, and there's a few other ones. WeChat has good images. But yeah, just anywhere you can find images.
I actually, in my notes, I said that your posts kind of feel like 21st century Renaissance paintings, and that they almost feel like AI generated, but they're like also like still real. I feel like there's like an aspect of like both defamiliarization and nostalgia that's central to your page. Because when I see like photos of like the Olsen twins being slimed, or just like, I don't know, like celebrities in these like surreal environments, like it's shit posty, but it's like also like it's like I feel like the real is a museum of like shit post ready-mades, like
I love that.
like Kylie Jenner's like body in 2016, like we now see is like so alien, and like we accepted it as normal at the time. So like when you like see back like those photos, I don't know, yeah, there's like something so like you see it for what it really is. Is that like your intention with that?
Yeah, I think for a while I was posting these like separated posts where it'd be like Kim Kardashian at the Met Gala, like her first appearance, and that would be like a whole post. But then the way I really think about the images is all at once, you know, like I think that's where the mythology comes in, where you can kind of build this narrative or this story about our times by putting a picture of like Kylie Jenner in 2016 next to like Amanda Bynes in 2016, or like an ancient Mesopotamian temple next to like, I don't know, a prime bottle. Like there's these kinds of connections you can build, and they really have to do with symbols and kind of eternal messages that have existed, and like an eternal search for a higher power.
And what guides you in determining like what connections are meaningful?
I think just like my gut instinct, just like I'll see something and I'll be like, oh, that image looks like really cool next to that image. And I'll pick the images I want to post. Like I'll go through right now, the way I'm posting is I archived a lot of my posts about a year ago, and now I just repost a lot of my archived images. So I downloaded my data from Instagram, and I have it on my computer, and I'll just go through the folders and just choose images, that like 10 images I like, and then just find an order where I feel like it's like this, then this, then this, then this. Like it reveals kind of like there's some kind of anticipation that's built, and then I just really go off of what I think looks good and feels good and what I think will do well online.
And I feel like you've consistently had your finger on the pulse. So like, is your gut instinct also like what tells you will do well online, or how much research goes into that?
I think that it's a mix. Like I think that Instagram is like unfortunately a really difficult platform to do well on right now, which is only because they suck. Like it's their fault. It's not the users. But I think that usually posts that do well on Instagram usually have a person in them. They're high quality. I think that there has to be like a clickable aspect to it. That's why I post a lot of celebrity things, because I think it draws people in. Like I will usually put a celebrity as like a first image on a post because I know it has a better chance of doing well.
You group together interesting people. I was looking at, we can pull it up later, but at the Little Miss Black Pill, I believe, zine, and you put together Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and Andy Warhol, and Greg Paul. And I really something I admire about you is your ability to group these people who seem like they have nothing to do with each other, but actually have that when you lay it out like that, have so much to do with each other. And yeah, I feel like you just have a real reverence for both like institutionally approved like great artists, and also like mainstream like content creators that are usually like shit on for their like amount of like popularity that they've received. And so do you value these people for similar reasons, and do you group them together for similar reasons?
Yeah, I think that artists and celebrities have this place in culture where they're seen as gods. And I think especially in such a secular time, people turn to celebrities for guidance about every aspect of their lives. That's why we have things like Goop now, like Gwyneth Paltrow's advising people on like how to eat, which I guess has always been kind of a part of celebrity culture, but it's very like people really look to influencers more than they'd admit it, or the media in general, for guidance on how to live their lives. So I just kind of also look to the media in that way, but I also look at like what are these people telling us? Like what are the archetypes that they represent that have existed for thousands of years? And an archetype I'm really interested in is the anti-hero. So someone that's like not the villain, because they're not purely evil, they have redeemable qualities, but they are disliked and not rooted for, but end up winning at the end of the day, like Logan Paul. He's a classic anti-hero. So those are, I really am interested in like villains, anti-heroes, people that are maligned, not necessarily given, celebrated, because I think those are often the most interesting people. And like, I'm not looking at media for guidance in my life. Like I think I'm pretty confident in myself to make decisions for myself. I really want to look at like what are these symbols that are being shown to us, and like who are the people leading these messages. And I think a lot of the time the people that are really ahead of the curve are the villains or the anti-heroes that innovate before anyone else does, and then in the future everyone's like, oh, that person like they were doing that 10 years ago and now everyone's doing it. Like I don't know, like the way like Doja Cat, the way she's dressing now, it's like she couldn't have done that if it wasn't for Lady Gaga getting made fun of all of the 2010s. It's like things that are seen in culture as being bad by the general public. I'm usually like, oh my God, what's good here?
Yeah.
like I want to know, because it's probably what's going to happen next.
Do you consider yourself an anti-hero? Because I think that's an interesting archetype to resonate with.
I think I see myself as the villain sometimes. Yeah. Like I think I'm in touch with my villainous side. And I think that I don't really like, I think everyone has that shadow self that we ignore. And I think because like, I'm like, I don't know, I'm crazy. Like I definitely like have had to like go to lots of therapy to like work on myself. That like I've encountered my villainous side and I admire it and use it as a creative force. So I guess I am kind of an anti-hero in that like no one's really given me a lot of opportunities. Like this podcast, for example, no one told me or wanted me to do this or is like helping me besides Romy and Anna, shout out them. But it's it's my mission. So I guess I do resonate with an anti-hero. I'd love to be an anti-hero.
I mean, I think it bears a lot of similarities to like I think I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about it, but your past as a horse girl, I think kind of positioned you as an anti-hero for like since you were a youngin. Like
yeah, no, totally. Yeah, no, I think that like being a horse girl, I think it's one of those things where like you're not treated well as a child. Like you're working a lot. Like I don't know if anyone else is a horse girl out there, but like a horse summer camp is essentially like free child labor. So like your parents send you off and you get to ride horses, but you're also like cleaning. Like I remember like being 10 years old and having to like clean, like wake up at 6 a.m. and clean a whole barn and like,
whoa.
like, and I went to this like horse camp in Vermont and I was really young and I just ate like, I was also like a super picky eater. So I only ate like whipped cream and clovers for 4 weeks and didn't shower. So I was like super dirty and like bullied and like cleaning horse shit all day. So I think that like humblingness of like just constantly like, being like subservient to this other animal, like in horse world, the horse always comes first. Like you're never allowed to blame the horse if you fall off. Like as the rider, you're responsible. Like, and that was kind of the mentality I was brought up in with horses. And so I guess as an artist, I kind of have that same mentality. Is like, I don't blame the world for not like validating my art. I only blame myself for not working hard enough. And I think that that mentality of just like not being defeated by things, like just not letting things defeat you, like whether it's like mucking a stall or like having a podcast, like those, you're the only one that's gonna be able to get it done at the end of the day. And I think I just have always tried my hardest and wanted to do well and be accepted.
And you succeeded.
I hope so.
Yeah. You also went to art school, and I feel like you, again, like you're talking about anti-heroes and how like they are disliked in their time, but then like eventually people like come around and realize like the merit and like, I don't know, the correctness of the anti-hero all along. And I feel like your existence to me kind of like foretells this like micro celebrity culture that we live in which like everyone is like, I don't know, in such a specific niche because they want to be an individual, and then by like putting up like photos of like celebrities or just like icons, you're kind of like rebelling against this is like, I don't know, hyper specific niche meme culture that we have going on.
Yeah, I think I just like am over people being like cool, like like I don't think that I think the really freaky shit is the stuff that's like right in front of us, you know? Like I think that like the freakiest things are like things the government's probably doing. Like I don't think that I think right now, especially with art and the internet, it's almost like the mainstream has become the niches. And I think to like be normal or like be interested in like kind of trad, like I'm really into kind of like bro content, like and like hypebeast stuff.
Yes.
And I think it's just like I'm into what I'm into and I go through phases, but at the end of the day, I'm going to post the stuff I'm interested in. And I think everyone should do, if they're really into a niche, like that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I think pursue your niche, but just like go hard at it, you know?
That's like something that fascinates me about you. And like another thing I wanted to talk about, because I feel like you're simultaneously like an insider and an outsider. And I think your character like contains a lot of like dualities, and rather than it being contradictions, it's just nuance. And one I'm particularly interested in that you just mentioned is that you're a very pretty girl with a very like cute kitsch aesthetic, but also I think there lives inside of you this shadow self, Joe Rogan, Napoleon, Opium, Kanye, like alter ego.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile the two?
Well, I feel like I've always just had this like boy in me. Like I just love boy stuff. Like I was obsessed with the Yankees growing up and baseball. Like I used to imagine that I was the first girl Yankee and I had like a pink uniform and they all had like their traditional blue uniforms, and like I'd go up to bat and be like, and then I'd go back, but like Derek Jeter would be like, nice job. Like they'd all be really happy with me.
They would. They totally would.
And I don't know. I think, during that time when I was a kid, I only wore like boys' clothing. And then I think as I got older, as an artist, it's like there's Frida Kahlo, there's Georgia O'Keeffe, but there's not like an Andy Warhol level. Like, I mean, there's Barbara Kruger, but there's not like someone that's like as famous as Andy Warhol that's also a woman, you know? And I want like what the boys have. Like I want to be like girl Joe Rogan, girl Andy Warhol. Like I want to get to that level. And I think that we live in a time now where women are able to get to that level as artists. And the only thing that stops us is our own self-doubt.
Totally.
Because I think that's what stopped me for so long. And like making the art that I wanted to make, I was like, no one's going to be interested in it because it's like fried, or like, I don't know if anyone understands my perspective or like cares, but if you just make the work, people eventually will, or they won't care, and it doesn't matter because that's all you can do is make your art.
Well, I have so many things to go off of that, but I'll just tell you something I think about personally, and you tell me, like, because I'm curious if my like opinion is just like internalized misogyny, like secretly. I think like a lot of female artists like can't reach the level of like Andy Kaufman, etc. Kaufman, because by constantly acknowledging that they're like a female artist, or by maybe the media dismissing them as like female artists rather than just artists, they're constantly like relegated to like
sub.
Sub. And that's like kind of like not my issue, but like an issue with feminism. Like by acknowledging that like the sexes are different, you're reminding people that like that men are, not that they are, but like, you know, like the ideology that they're superior.
Well, and I think that's like one of the things that is hard is like for example, like we're both part of like Content Warriors, which is like my secret society, which is all women, but it's not like it just happened to be like I just would rather work with all women, and it's not like a feminist thing. I just like communicate better, you know? And like I think that I do think like making a big deal out of the fact that things are female doesn't help, and just kind of like almost limits like what they can be and what like art by women should be. Because if you're saying like this is art, like these are women artists, then like I just don't feel like my art fits in with that. Like I just don't see my, like when I see those group shows or whatever, those retrospectives, and I love the work, and there's so many amazing female artists that I look up to. I just think that it is a shame that we have to separate their work and show them in like group shows together, and not just like, and make a big deal. Like, can't we just show art because it's good?
Problematic exhibit.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, Trisha Paytas is someone that you admire.
Yeah.
I think someone that you like would fit this description of like, she is like, and she's not trying to hide it. Like her content is for the girls and the gays, but she takes on so many characters that like her being a woman is like it's part of it, but like she like actually, like, I don't know if she's non-binary also, right? Yeah. Like,
yeah. I think Trisha is just such a big role model because she just like, she goes for it and she doesn't let anyone stop her. Like no one's ever, like Trisha's such an example of an anti-hero because no one's ever supported what she's doing. No one's ever funded it. She's just made the money from her videos trolling to fund her like epic music videos. Like it's like peak like villain narrative. Like, and I mean like her videos that first popped off were her repeating Andy Kaufman monologues where they were like all about like how women should be in the kitchen and all this stuff.
Didn't know that.
And that's actually how I found her, because I was like super Tumblr feminist, and I was like found this video that was like, this woman hates woman, and I watched it. It was Trisha Paytas, and I was like, oh my god, this is so upsetting. And then I like showed my friend, and she was like, oh my god. And then I was like, but wait, I kind of like her. And then I just like could not stop. This was probably like 2013, and then I just became like obsessed with her, and I made a lot of art about her at RISD. And if you want to come on the podcast, Trisha, come through. But yeah, I love her. And I think she does so well. It's just she makes her art, you know? She doesn't let anyone stop her or tell her that it's not art or tell her anything. And I think she's finally getting the recognition she deserves as an artist, because she's incredible.
I think like her relationship with Moses is like so like wholesome to me, and like particularly wholesome to me because he has like an obsession with water. And I feel like Trisha's like water, in which like she will fill up any shape you give her. Like, like she's just a vessel, bro. No. And you're just a vessel, bro. Wow.
Deep for
Speaking of Trisha, I was gonna save this for later, but I want to know the story behind the Trisha tattoo, because I feel like that's legendary, real lore.
So I will put the picture in here, but I have a tattoo of Trisha that was done by Dean Valente, I think is how you say his name. And I got it during the pandemic with my stimulus check. Shout out Donald Trump. Thank you. But yeah, I took that money and I went and got this tattoo. And the story is, it's an image Trisha modeled for this lingerie company when she was 19 called Pipeline Dreams. And the image just comes from one of those lingerie shoots. And I'd like to maybe get another one of the same tattoo, like on my arm, like a smaller mini Trisha. But yeah, I love like celebrity tattoos of celebrities, and tattoos that celebrities have. I have I have 3 or 4 celebrity related tattoos. I have this one, which is Gabby DiMartino's. Oh, and then I have Anna Nicole Smith's initials.
I didn't know that one.
And then on my stomach, I have one of Justin Bieber's tattoos that says Purpose. Yeah, that he had on his stomach that he got for the Purpose era. And the day after I got the Purpose tattoo, part of my house collapsed, which was crazy.
Dude, did you find meaning in that?
Yeah, I was like, is my purpose being like recalibrated? I was like, I guess I'm not. My purpose was not to live here. But yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
But I'd like to get more tattoos, celebrity tattoos.
If we consider Trisha an artist, do you consider posting art?
Yes, definitely. I think posting should be looked at more as art by the people doing it, because I think it would give people, they'd have more fun doing it if they saw it as art. Because I think part of why social media addiction is so damaging is that you lose your ability to contribute to society. And I think that if you see posting as art, you can contribute to the online world, the anima world, which I think is in a way that's different and kind of gives people like a way out. Like when you see a post that's not about what all the other posts are about, it gives you like, it kind of like shakes you a little. I feel like that's how I always feel. I'm like, what did I just see? And I hope that like the posts I make kind of shake people a little and make them think differently, because I think there's so many opinions online that are the same. And I really just want people to like see my account and give them hope that they can be themselves and have fun.
I totally agree. And I think there's like such a crisis of like individuality in which everyone wants to be an individual and is doing so in the exact same ways. And by using like in theory, social media is like, could be like so utopian, like it's like, and I think that's like originally like how people framed like the internet. Like you can be anything you want to be, you can post anything you want, like you're given like a freedom to share with others on a scale like never before possible. And then why would you use that platform to just only consume the most depressing shit all the time and not post anything for yourself, to express yourself, like, I don't know, to establish your own like personhood.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people get caught up in their lived identities thinking that they have to have those online. I think for me, one of the biggest ways of creating positive change in my like relationship to social media was creating a new account, starting from zero. Instagram actually rewards new accounts and will help push your account. So it's helpful to have a new account. But really kind of starting a new identity and not following maybe some people, but like really just have fun, like enjoy the feed. Like if you're spending like over an hour a day on Instagram and you're unhappy, like there's a great app called Opal that I like tell everyone about. Please sponsor. But Opal helps you limit your social media use, and I found it super helpful to really be intentional with my time on Instagram. But if you change your algorithm, if you start a new account, if you start following new accounts that are related to things you're interested in real life and not just like people that you're jealous of, it can just make such a big difference in your day-to-day life if you're spending time online.
Well, I think you're one of like the few people I know who knows like so much of what's going on online, and also like still at the end of the day touches grass and is like very in tune with nature. I mean, I guess Opal is like something that helps you like balance it, but I feel like there's like something like spiritually that allows you to like interact with both realms and like know your limits with the online and to appreciate like nature. And like, where do you think that comes from?
I think that's like a newer balance that's been added to my life. I think there was many years where I was like in my apartment all day long, like not going outside. So like I've been there. I've been that depressed, like not getting out of bed for days, like really sad. So I think it comes from really just not wanting to be in that place again. I think I feel like I have like a purpose in life, and that purpose is to spread joy to other people. And I want to use my life to do that, and I don't want to waste my life. So I think that's where it comes from, is like a motivation, but also just like the people around me. Like my partner, Jeff, I think is like, I really love spending time with him. Like, I don't want to be like so depressed and on my phone all the time that I can't, enjoy this amazing person in my life, or just I think it can take you out of life, and I've been there. So I think that's why I have to have that balance, is because I need it, or I will be in bed all day. Like like it's like a real, like, that's why I think online it seems like my life is so perfect, but I'm really not perfect. Like, I have the same struggles as everyone. I know. I'm just 28. It gets better.
I feel like a big reason why like there's a lot of spirituality related content online, and like both like in the trad sense, which is like I'm gonna drink only like raw milk and pray to God like all the time, and like in the ironic like based retard gang, and it's like just like people are so like depressed, and there's so much like meaninglessness online that they want there to be like some like higher power like on the internet that they can like pray to essentially with their posts. Do you think that's like ultimately a good or a bad thing?
Well, I think the internet itself is like a higher power. Like, I think it's a collective unconscious like spirit that we all share, because we're all engaging with it mentally all the time, which means that it is an energetic force, aside from it being like a real physical thing. Like the internet is like servers and stuff like that. But there is, I think, this like subconscious space that occupies in so many of our lives, which does that. I mean, if we're all thinking about it all the time, we're thinking about what we're going to post, thinking about what we've seen, we're all kind of engaging in this like other world, really. And so I think it would make sense to me that in that other world there would be gods and goddesses, just as like on earth there are god, like we have false idols. I don't know, I love Greek mythology. I think Greek mythology is something I think about a lot. But like maybe like based retard gang represents like Dionysus, like god of like kind of like a jovial god of like party and leisure. And then maybe there's like the more pious like Hephaestus, like the I don't know, would be like maybe that's like the gym girly is like I guess Hephaestus wouldn't be a good one because he's like ugly man making iron, but like maybe like Persephone. I don't know, there's just like all these parallels, like goddess of love, like there's like different things like the muses that speak to us online. But I think at the end of the day, really for me, like just having gratitude for daily life. Like I try to pray like every morning, even if you don't believe in God, just like gratitude for the day that you're about to, like gratitude just for the being alive that day, I think is something that I try to ground myself in, because I think there's so many things trying to like distract us these days, that really just having that like waking up and just thanking God for the day or whoever you believe in can really help you like further into the day, just not feel so hopeless.
Yeah. When did you start getting into like did you ever have like a spiritual experience like defined like in that caused you to think this way, or like how did you always feel this way?
Yeah, I think I had like a pretty like big spiritual like awakening about like a year ago, where I got like much more into like prayer, and kind of started, I went to a Justin Bieber concert. I think I was like into God before then, but I think that experience was like really transcendent, because all the girls there had been these fans of Justin since they were children, and now we were all meeting in like our mid to late 20s, early 30s, and like I just felt the spirits of them like come out.
Whoa.
And like we were all just like these, it felt like ribbons of pink light, and it was like a very like hallucinogenic experience. And I feel like that really like that was like about a year ago, and that really shifted my perspective. I also started doing acupuncture, which I feel like got me more in touch with my body. But I think religion for me, I guess I don't really prescribe to any religion. I just kind of like pray. It's to just like a universal God, like the creator, nature. It's like all the same thing to me. But I guess that for me really was like a year ago, and I think it was just like I was looking for more purpose in life, and I felt pretty directionless, and I felt pretty lonely, and I think I just started praying kind of out of that. I'd always had prayed growing up. I grew up Jewish, and I'd pray in synagogue, but prayer isn't really like as talked about in Judaism, or at least in my temple. So I always kind of mentally did it, but I think when I started doing it more intentionally, I started seeing more like changes in my life, I guess. Not like things started happening for me. But I mean, they kind of did, because I started believing myself, or just being,
Yeah.
I think gratitude is just such an important thing to base your life in.
That's really beautiful. And I like that, yeah, like it goes down to like whatever that higher power is. It's like a higher power. And you were talking before about like celebrities being used as like prophets and dictating our lives, which I'm going to subtly use to transition to your art incorporates, like your like visual art incorporates celebrities like Lil Pump, Jake Paul. Why do you feel important to, or maybe it's not important, but like why do they come up in your art?
I think they're like strong carriers of symbols. Like I think Lil Pump is like really interesting in that he's really good at like reducing language, like Gucci Gang. It's like he says Gucci Gang 200 times. And I think to be able to simplify things is not something that people value enough, but it's actually probably one of the most important things in art is the simplification. And I think Jake Paul also is a good simplifier. I think he's really good at, his Problem Child logo is black and white. You know, it's like he has this ability to be such a villain, which I love. And he uses symbols a lot. Like he rides into his press conference on a horse or a tank, and he works with like Whistling Diesel, who's like an awesome YouTuber, to do that. He his whole career in boxing, I think, is so exemplary of like, it's so mimetic and symbol based, and just like him transitioning to being a boxer is really interesting and has brought like a whole new attention to the sport. So I think I'm really interested in people that like change, that are like groundbreaking in like a way that people don't really give credit for, or like, I guess that I'm just interested in. Like I love music and I love rap, and that's why I like Lil Pump, because he makes like I love like kind of dumb, like I don't know, he just makes like dumb good music. And I love Jake Paul because he makes dumb good content.
I don't know how to articulate this, but I really feel like you're ahead of our time. And when you talk about like Lil Pump, I'm thinking also about like Cardi, how he like people who like prefer old Cardi, like when he had like more like structured flows, and like now it's just like it's very like trance like and I think kind of what you're describing, it reminds me of like the evolution of like modern art, like starting with like the Renaissance, and then like moving towards like flatness and like abstract shapes, and just like a simplification and condensation of everything into like onto the page. So I think you're kind of like inventing, like you've like literally invented like a new movement that like parallels history. I don't know.
Damn, Romy. That'd be cool.
But I want to talk more about your art, actually. I'm really like invested in you as an artist. And I think you use so much, like your art is not just your painting or your posting. Like you like social media is a medium for you. So is painting, so is film, so is you like ready-mades and sculptures. Like there's a lot of like materials that go into your work. Is that intentional?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've always been really interested in just like there's a lot of things I like to make. And so I think art school and the art world in general tries to limit what an artist can and can't make. And I mean, even when you're in school, you have to choose a major. And that was so hard for me because I like wanted to do sculpture, and I ended up in film because I thought I could do the most in film. Like I thought I could do kind of like installation art, which people don't tell you in art school isn't real. Like there's no professional installation artist, or I haven't met any yet. I don't know. That's like not a real career path. If anyone's curious, most people probably know that, but I didn't know that. So.
Me neither.
So I just like, I don't know. I've always really liked making things that are fully experiential, and I love video. I love sculpture. I like painting. I don't know. I just like to make all this stuff. So I'm like, I just got to make it. I don't know. But I love machines. Like I just love seeing the world around me and putting it in my art and just finding things I like and then putting them together. I think that's why I think most of my work at the end of the day is just collage. Like I think all of it goes down to just being collage, and my sculptures are collages, my paintings are collages, my podcast, my posts. It's all just kind of like putting two things next to each other, and then you find a new meaning.
I love that. I think it's also so satisfying to know you as a person because your like physical apartment matches so much like what your online aesthetic is. Like I feel like your brain is just like a collection of trinkets and it like manifests in like genuinely everything you do. Yeah, I love that about you.
Yeah, I love trinkets. I love having like little things around. I think it's nice. I think I don't know. I was actually, Jeff brought this up recently, but like I had a fish tank growing up in my room from when I was 6 to 9. And I feel like having all those fish look at me has made me always want like eyes around me because I have so many like stuffed animals and toys and like things. Like there's so many eyes in my apartment if you come over. I think I just really like an audience.
That's so interesting. I've never thought about that before.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite like stuffed animal or like toy growing up?
Oh my God, yeah. I had a security blanket for a long time. I think longer than I should have, named Maki, that I carried around with me everywhere. And then I had a stuffed bear named Flat Teddy. That was like my first stuffed animal.
Was he flat?
He was flat. He was flat. But I had a lot of toys that I was like connected to at different times. I used to collect like kid robots and stuff like that. But I'm trying to think if there's another toy I really, really liked. I had a toy called the Wove Love that gave birth that I was like very obsessed with and like would cover its face with wasabi. I don't know why. I would give it like wasabi facials when my parents would get sushi. And I would make it give birth with the wasabi on its face. Awesome. I don't know. I just did like a lot of weird shit as a kid. Like one time I covered myself in shaving cream just because I wanted to know what it looked like.
Do you feel like growing up in New York City like helped preserve your inner child or like because I feel like you have such a rich one, but also growing up here sounds like you're forced to mature really fast.
I think that's why like I am so in touch with it as an adult because I don't think I got to have like necessarily like a traditional childhood because you're kind of like a professional child or like that's how it felt at least like you have to like do all this like applications for schools like from when you're like 5 and then again when you're 12 and you kind of have to like when I was 12 I had to like decide what I wanted to do. It felt like with what high school I was going to. Like I went to an arts high school so I had like a portfolio. I was doing like live model drawing when I was like 12. Like there was a lot of pressure. I was also like competing at like a pretty high level like horseback riding at the time. So like I feel like being kind of like I wasn't like a child prodigy because I wasn't that good. But I was also working like really hard at things that like I just don't think I didn't get to really just like play a lot of the time. Like a lot of my time was really structured. So I think as I got older, I think art became that place where I could play and I wanted to play, you know? And I think also like growing up in New York after 9/11 was like a very scary time. Like I think that I do think in a way like kind of there's like a big lot, like 9/11 happened when I was 6 and I used to live downtown and then we moved up. So I just felt like it was really freaky for me. So I think I kind of like retreated into my own inner world and I think I kind of never left that inner world.
Whoa. And I mean, 9/11 is also kind of the reason why you created the war show, right?
Yeah. I mean, kind of, yeah. I think War was a show I did at Drama Gallery and I guess like 9/11 was kind of in the background. I think War came from Kanye's like unreleased album is called War. So that's where I got the name from. But more just kind of like the idea of like information war was more of the concept. But I mean, I think 9/11 is a big part of like the information war. So
how do you keep your like inner child alive? Like what toys do you think you're playing with as an adult?
How do you keep your inner child alive? There's a lot of things you can do. I think one of them is just like being curious about things, like really like questioning everything, exploring everything, trying things you wouldn't normally do, trying things that you're afraid of or whatever. I think really just looking at like a leaf and like thinking about that leaf's life or like thinking about like a squirrel you see in the park, like what are they thinking, you know, like really kind of being curious. And I think that's what kids are, is like they're always trying to eat things and touch things and look at things. And also I think it's really important to treat yourself like a child, like do things that like give yourself enriching activities, like, you know, like take yourself, like if you were a kid, like if you were your own kid, what would you do for that kid?
Yeah.
Like you'd put it in like a martial arts class. You would
feed it vegetables.
Like you'd make it drink milk sometimes, or like I just try to take care of myself, and like I don't always do a great job, but I'm trying.
That's like, I think what you're talking about is like keeping your inner child alive. A lot of millennials Brad Trommel talks about this, like a lot of millennials are, I think, infantilize themselves because they don't want to deal with the reality of growing up. But your approach sounds like far more mature, because you're not trying to, like, you're not acting like a baby online. Like, you're not doing like a cutesy voice or anything. You're parenting yourself, which is like, oh shit, like inherently like more like responsible.
Yeah, I think parenting yourself is a good way of putting it. I think like doing the things that you wish you had done as a child for yourself as an adult doesn't mean pain. Like, also I think like I don't drink, but like, or I don't really drink. And I think not having like a lot of activities around drinking in my life has helped me like just have like a healthier relationship with myself. Like, I think alcohol can make you feel like, it made me feel really insecure for a long time. So I think cutting that, reducing things that made me feel insecure. I still have to do them sometimes, like go to art openings, but I try to like lessen the blow by like getting food with my friends afterwards, or just adding things you enjoy to your life. Like if something's not bringing you joy, find something that is. And if you have to do it, then do it. But if you don't have to do it, like don't make yourself go to that club if you don't want to go to that club. Like it's okay to stay home. I'm very like into staying home. I stay home a lot.
Do you think it's like, how do you balance like intuition and discipline? Because like I don't know, I feel like for someone who's like, who wants to stay home, like like telling yourself it's okay to stay home is like a good thing. But if you're like constantly like restless, like you want to party all the time, and it's preventing you from like doing your work, like how should one go about that?
I think the key to shifting a behavior is adding in something that you enjoy just as much as that behavior. So like if you're going out all the time, like once you start going out, it's really hard to break the loop of going out. Like you kind of, once you're in the mix of like going out every weekend or like going to art openings every week or whatever, it's like hard to be like, I'm going to stop now. Like that's been the hardest for me, is like once you get in the flow, it kind of never ends. So I think just like, for me, what's helped is like having a calendar of the month and just like making sure on that calendar, like are things that I know I have to do to take care of myself, like therapy, acupuncture, walks. Like those are the things that I schedule. I don't just schedule like art openings or like things that stress me out. Like make sure like that there's days when I have nothing on those days. Like, so I think it's all about just finding balance, and I think adding discipline to your life in any measure will help you with that. I think discipline is a really hard thing, but it's really important if you want to be successful as an artist. And people don't, I think, talk about that enough, that like you need to have like really strict discipline with your work, with just making the work, not putting it out there. I think having discipline with putting it out there can sometimes hurt you as an artist if you're not ready for it. Like maybe keep that work to yourself, but just keep working on what you want to do and make time for that. And don't just make time for other people. Because I think you can't make other people your higher power. Like if the club is your higher power, then at the end of the day, you're going to like be pretty depressed. But like, I think that it could be your higher power too. And that could be a positive thing, but it just depends on like your relationship to it. And, I think also if you are enjoying it, if there's no joy left in it, then why keep doing it? You know, like add something else that you enjoy to your life. If you really don't want to keep going out, then stop and just find something else that night that like would make you not feel like a loser, you know? Like for me, like I really like going to concerts, or like I like finding like an event that I really want to go to and like waiting for that, or like anticipating that. Like I'm going to go see Travis Scott and I'm super excited. And so I'm like waiting for that Travis Scott concert.
And you're waiting for the Kanye album.
Yeah.
If that's ever going to come.
I don't know if that's going to come anytime soon, but hopefully. I was anticipating that. That was maybe I was anticipating it too much. I was too excited.
Again, it goes back to like celebrity as profit, like waiting for Kanye to return, like waiting for like, I don't know, the message to arrive.
Yeah, I think that like you can't always sit there and wait for it to arrive. I think that like a lot of the time you have to make it like there's no I think this is like in everything in life. Like there's no one that's going to give you that opportunity that's going to change your life. Only you are going to give yourself that opportunity by putting yourself out there, and then maybe an opportunity will come to you. But I think that like looking to other people, I can get caught up in being obsessional. Like it's not positive always in my life. Like I think there's a lot of negative obsessions I've had. But I am an obsessional person.
That's what makes you an artist.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, for someone who's like so incredibly like self-reliant, you also like really cultivate like networks of people. You link and you build.
I would never call myself self-reliant, but I really like that you said that. I think I depend a lot on, you know, especially my partner. But I try. I'm trying to be. I'm glad I appear that way, but I'm like for sure not.
Well, tell me more about like working with like other people, because we know each other because we have like met online and decided to collaborate essentially.
So I've had a lot of really amazing creative collaborations in my life. Working with you has been amazing. We met, and Romy's really helped me like find this podcast and figure out what it is. And then Anna, who edits it, I went to RISD with, and she's an incredible artist. And very kindly edits the podcast and has made really cool animations for it. And working with her is great because I completely trust her judgment, and everything she does is just like perfect. So it's awesome. And then also I think working with people is really cool. Like I was telling Jeff this, like I really like that we started almost like working together first before we became friends, because I think it can be good to have like your friendships, and then like friendships that like I love working with my friends like Anna. I work with my friend Clara. We did merch for the war show together. We're working on some narrative merch. My partner Jeff and I like collaborate together all the time. I mean, we almost work too much because we both have studios in our apartment, so I think we're always in a way like collaborating, like whether it's not like we've worked on zines together and pop-ups and shows, but also just like physically like we just talking about art. Yeah. I think it's really good to have like one person you can show your work to, and like they can just give you a little like thumbs up. Like I think that can really go a long way. Or someone people that are around you that inspire you to make work.
I think that's important. Totally. I think also like what you're doing with like narrative navigation, content warriors, is like kind of creating like an ensemble that it's both like, it reminds me of like both like an artist collective and like a content house. What do you think, guys? Like, are you more inspired by like artist movements or like artist groups, or by the structure of like of content houses?
I think like probably pretty equally both. I mean, I think I'm pretty inspired by especially like art movements, that like the art movement that was happening in New York in the 50s, I think is something I've been really interested in recently. Rauschenberg, Jasper Johns, Cage, Cunningham, like that group of artists, and kind of the happenings they were having, and the spirit they were able to cultivate, and how transcendent it's been for the past 50 years or 70 years actually in New York. I'm really interested in, there's another group, a European group called the Independent Group that was making work, or that was, they would like get together and have these lectures on different topics in like popular, like that were like science. They'd have like a motorcycle scientist come in and like talk about the design of motorcycles, but to artists. Like it was all about like what was going on in the world, but like artists were engaging with it. So it was like a modern pop culture. It was like an early pop art think tank. And then Content Warriors came out of Mr. Beast had this group called Mega Masterminds, or like Mastermind Group, and he would meet every day for like hours on Zoom with this group of creators, and all of them went on to have like million subscriber channels, and they would work together and just like analyze what works, what doesn't, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, okay, like how can I mimic that? And how can I build people that will want to work with me on, because I knew I couldn't do like what I wanted on social media or in art on my own. Like you need more than one person like to have a movement. Can't just be. And I think right now in art, everything is like so individual based. It's like you have you're in a group show, and then you have a solo show, and then you're in a 2-person show, and then but it's not like any of those people's work they don't have to be making work together. They don't have to know each other. It's just like so random. Yeah. And like, I really was like, oh, I know what I want to do now. And it's very specific. And I just want to find people that are interested in helping me. And this is all just for fun, you know, like hopefully this goes somewhere, but really I just want to work with people that like are excited about life and making cool content and experimenting with what content can be and pushing the boundaries. And so when I started Content Warriors, I just did like a Google form and kind of like asked questions, and based on people's answers, I was like, oh, okay, I know which people like I think I could probably work with. But I think I've always just been open to working with a lot of different kinds of people. I've had a lot of different jobs. I'm pretty patient with people. I try to be, and I want to, there's always something you can learn from someone else. You know, like 2 people in a room coming up with ideas is so much better than 1 person. And like 2 people can become 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. Like that, like ideas just spread once you like have the unity of 2 minds. And I really just love talking to people because it helps me think. And it's kind of how I think. I try not to get too in my head, because that's where you kind of get into the weeds. It's better to talk things out with someone.
So true. I think you like lack the like ego and like cynicism that seems like very like I don't know. I don't even think it's specific to this generation. I was gonna say like kind of the opposite. I think your willingness to engage seriously with like Mr. Beast strategy, and also like 1950s like American like New York artists, like shows like a real commitment to creation, and like that propels you far like more forward than like, I don't know, just being like, yeah, things used to be good, they suck now, and like just sitting in that.
Yeah, I think everything is always happening all at once. And I think that's my favorite artists, like Andy Warhol, Marcel Duchamp, were really people that like saw the full spectrum of what life was and saw symbols in everything. And I really love Duchamp's. I mean, Duchamp is like a huge inspiration for me. His work has really... And he worked in like every medium, did everything, tried everything, was super into technology. And I think that's how I feel. Like I just want to use all of the things that I can use. And I think like ego is such a big part of why a lot of people become artists. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't like want attention. Like I obviously love attention. Like I wouldn't be like on this podcast if I didn't want people to look at me. But yeah, my Leo moon is strong, but
Leo rising.
Yeah. And I feel like I think there's a difference between wanting attention and like feeling like what you have to contribute is better than everyone else's. Like I think I want attention, and I know that, but I also think that everyone's opinions are valid. But I think a lot of people want attention because they don't think other people are right and they're right. And I think that that's a reason why a lot of people sometimes will make art and it's misdirected, because art is supposed to make other people feel like they're a part, like they can join in, you know, like the art I like Josh Smith's paintings of the Grim Reaper, like a 5-year-old and an 80-year-old can equally enjoy those paintings, you know. Art is meant to invite people in, and I just want to invite people in.
Do you feel like you're part of like an existent art movement? Like, do you see like the scene that's happening right now as like I don't know, a scene that will be remembered in history?
I really hope so. I mean, that's why I'm putting in all this work. But yeah, I really think that like, especially what we're doing or like what Nick has done at Drama Gallery and the shows that I've been able to be a part of there have been really cool. And I think that the people there, like I see us as a movement. I see a lot of artists that are in New York right now are all part of different movements that are historically significant. Like, I mean, like the Shelley Akhtar show at King's Leap right now is like historically significant for trans artists. There's a lot of like really interesting stuff that's happening in New York right now. I think it's just And there's a lot of interesting artists that are in New York right now. And I think it's all about us just getting together and making something of it and not letting, like, I mean, like in the 2000s, there's a huge painting movement in Williamsburg. I think right now it's just people are so fractionalized and focused on their individual strategy, or like there's not really as much of a thought to like a collective. But I think the more a group of friends continues to show, the better it is for everyone in that group. So I think the more any of my friends continue to show, the better it is for me. I mean, that's selfishly why I did War. It's like to group of people, artists together, and then to associate yourself with that group of artists. Like, I think just making smart moves will create that group. But I do think about that a lot, you know? I think about that with like decisions I make.
Do you think that like, I don't know, I feel like there's kind of like this like self like flagellation of this generation. It's like and it's really tied to the internet. It's like because we grew up with technology, like things are, or I don't know, like things are worse now. And it's either because of like the generation that like led us, or because our own like incompetence since like being introduced to new technology. Do you think like, do you agree with that at all?
No, I feel like we're living in like utopia times. Like, I think we're living in a time where, you know, there's like one of my favorite, like a good Kanye quote I like is like, in the future we thought there'd be flying cars, but really like what the future is that you can send a movie in 2 minutes, you know, like that's our future, is that we have access to all this information and education. So if there's anything you can't do now, you can just look it up on YouTube, you know, or Google it. And that's something that like no one else has had the power to do. So I think as an artist, it's like an incredible time, because like I can make a magazine, like I can self-publish a book, like I can have this podcast. Like there used to not be platforms that had universal access to like putting out long form content. Like where would I have been able to put an hour-long podcast episode? Like even a few years ago, there wasn't really that infrastructure, or audience, or even cultural awareness to stuff like this, which is, I mean, anyone can have a podcast. Like you really can teach yourself all this stuff. And I really encourage everyone to just continue educating yourself in whatever way, in whatever you're interested in, learn as much as you can about that, because there is that access to information. And that's really the future, is like, you know, you are the master of your own destiny. You can learn these things, you can build it, and people will come.
If you could create like Testopia, like what would you change about what we're living in?
I'd get rid of cars. I'd have everything go back to horses. I'm really I would love. Good. I like cars though. I think they're cool. I just don't have my driver's license, and I would much prefer to get around by horse or train.
Nothing else.
Nothing else. Awesome. Just more trains, more horses.
I think a lot would be fixed. Honestly, like actually thinking about it, like like gas, etc. Like right? A lot would be fixed if we had horses.
It would be cool. I mean, we probably wouldn't have we wouldn't have suburbs, but maybe that would be a good thing. We'd be like home, like I don't know what would happen if we got rid of all the cars, but yeah, I would love if I could travel by horse. Or like train. I love trains.
Awesome. Can I move to some rapid fire questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so rapid fire question 1. If you could stock a vending machine with anything, like you can just include as many items as you want, what would you include?
Whoa. Okay. I guess the first thing that comes to mind is I would definitely stock it with GT Dave's, the like living sodas, like the colas. Like he has like a root beer and Coke, and they're made out of mushrooms. They're called, I think, like Life Elixirs or something like that. They're my favorite things. I would stock it with that. I would definitely stock it with organic lavender oil. I love lavender oil. And probably like these like stress relief, like little Dr. Box stress relief things that I like. Dark chocolate with like, I don't know, honey. I love honey. Yeah. I love I'd also probably like stock it with like a ton of like Rila Kuma shit or like iPods.
Beautiful. Okay, what's your idea of a perfect day?
Okay, my idea of a perfect day would be hanging out with Jeff, like going swimming somewhere. I love swimming. Preferably like in a hot spring. I would like to go swimming in a hot spring, a natural hot spring. sauna, eat some soup or like a tasty meal of some sort, be in nature, hang out with some animals, get to make art, smoke weed. That's pretty much it.
That's what life's about. What color do you see yourself as?
I see myself as like kind of like the bright green of the narrative logo. I think I kind of have like bright green energy maybe, but also maybe like purple.
Interesting.
Green, purple. What color do you see me
I
as?
see as turquoise.
Turquoise? Okay, yeah. I got the turquoise chrome hearts on.
What was your favorite singer or band growing up?
Oh my God, Hillary Duff. I was obsessed with Hillary Duff. I named my prettiest fish Hillary Duff. Like multiple of my prettiest fishes Hillary Duff.
Did you give them numbers or was it all just
It's
like?
just like Hillary Duff.
Awesome.
But yeah, I loved Hillary Duff and the Jonas Brothers. And I was also like, I don't know. That was like my childhood. And then I got really into like indie music. And I was like super into Death Cab for Cutie. I was like a really big Death Cab for Cutie fan. My 8th grade yearbook has like a Death Cab for Cutie quote. It's like the head versus heart. The heart always wins, but the head always, like, I forget that one quote, but yeah, that's my 8th grade yearbook quote.
You're always ahead of it.
I've just always been emo.
Okay, perfect. Next question. What do you do when you're sad?
I take a bath. I go on my phone too much. When I'm sad and I like don't know I'm sad, I'll probably just like not go outside and like wear my PJs all day and like be gross and not brush my hair and not my teeth. But if I'm like know I'm sad and I'm trying to fix it, I'll like take a bath and go for a walk in the park.
Good parenting.
Yeah, parent myself, go to kickboxing class. Yeah, like exercise really helps a lot, even if it's just a walk.
Dream blunt rotation.
Ooh. Damn. That's crazy. Probably like Mike Tyson. Like Mike Tyson, Logan Paul. But then I want like Venus Angelic. Even though I don't know if she'd smoke with me. She's more of an alcohol girly. Like Baby Ariel, like someone like that. Like there's so many people I could put in this rotation. Grimes, Trisha, but she doesn't smoke.
Malibu Barbie.
Malibu Barbie in the I'd put Moses in the dream blunt rotation for sure. I'd love to smoke with Moses. Talk about water. Yeah, I guess I kind of like smoking weed alone though. Like I don't know if I'd like necessarily want to smoke with like people I idolize, because then I'd feel like so stupid and awkward after the blunt is gone.
The dream is the nightmare. And leaving off at, you've given like so much like really precious like valuable advice, but if you could like leave the audience with like one final lesson, what would it be?
I would say like my final lesson is just like be yourself and don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do, especially with your art. Like don't let anyone else's thoughts influence what you do. Just like trust your own vibe and gut.
That's magic. Beautiful.
Thanks, Roby.
Yay!
Yay.